So it's official, former Democratic Alliance leader Helen Zille is the party's new Federal Council chairperson. She beat three other contenders, Athol Trollip, Thomas Walters and Mike Waters, in the highly contested election. 155 delegates voted at the council meeting held at the DA's headquarters in Johannesburg yesterday. So the question on everyone's lips is, what does this mean for DA leader Mmusi Maimane? Well, let's get some analysis now. In studio with me, political analyst Ralph Mathekga. Good to see you, Ralph. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for inviting me.
So, were you surprised by her win or not really?
No, I wasn't surprised. I actually thought she will have humility to pull back from that contest because it was very clear that she has had a very strong lobby and she was a front runner and it was just belonging to her, and I thought it would have been such a great thing if she had decided not to run and to say that, look, I'm not available for this position, but I'll guide the party on the sideline. And unfortunately she went ahead with this and she won, and she just became an instant liability to the party from day one. Today they have to manage the contagion out of this. They've got to manage Mr. Machado, who is threatening to resign. Nobody knows who else will be throwing in the tantrums. But the party should have known it, that returning Helen Zille to that position, to a very critical position within the DA, at this point in time, it will be interpreted as a rejection of Mmusi Maimane's leadership. And unfortunately, that's just what it lent itself to.
So we look at Helen Zille. She had less than 2 weeks to campaign for this position. Literally, it came as a surprise that she was going to run for it. Less than 2 weeks, gets in there and wins by 15 votes. She takes it very, very easily. It wasn't a big deal for her. What is the vision of the DA? Because clearly, they believe in her.
You know, she has had less than 2 weeks of formal campaigning, but I follow the news on a daily basis. This has been building. I mean, there were some of the prominent columnists who actually have written that she needs to form a political party. So the lobby around the personality cult of Helen Zille and her importance to steer the DA forward, it is the work that has been done all along. And I think that at this point in time, we've seen people coming forward now. We have seen an NGO coming forward and throwing its saying that a particular leader should lead the DA, and Zille having been there from at the Institute of Race Relations, coming out straight, marching to this position. We cannot just say that this is just something that has been cooked within 2 weeks. This is part of an orchestrated move within the DA. This is how the DA is badly responding to the challenge they've experienced in the May 8 elections, where they performed poorly. And the poor performance of the DA has also been a cumulative issue where the party has been losing policy position. It has not been very clear. Unfortunately, Leanne, it's a genuine problem they have, but they responded very wrongly. They took a step back in all this. They should have actually taken this as an opportunity to position the party to go forward. I find it very difficult to justify. Why would you, if you are dealing with the question of race in position in the party, if you are dealing with the question as to how to make the party relevant, to appeal to new constituencies, I just don't see how someone who has served a full cycle, who have run a full cycle, will make themselves available, unless otherwise maybe they've got an agenda that is not in line with these questions that are being asked. I find it very difficult, and I think even Zille knows it, that she's going to have to explain her own victory. That's why she has had to say, "I'll stay in my first lane."
Well,
who says that in the first day? It's like it's like being appointed and being elected. The first thing you say is that, "Oh, I'm gonna make a point that I'm not myself throughout that." That's just not confident.
Because that's really not her. I mean, as she said, I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm going to stick to knitting. I'm going to respect our leader, Mmusi Maimane. These are all the things that she was saying. Can we really believe her, though? I mean, Helen Zille is not the quiet type. She has a lot to say. I mean, even on this. This is enough.
Are they going to take that away from her?
I don't think so. They're not going to replace it with knitting needle.
I mean, she's not...
So, I mean, can she stay in her lane? Do you think it's in her character?
No, it's. I mean, why would they go all into the trouble of bringing her back for her to stay in her lane? Zille is there as an inauguration of a different set of politics within the DA. It's not the same Zille. It's not the Zille who brought about the likes of Maimane. It is the Zille who left and went and crafted some kind of right-of-center message in South African politics, and she has been doing it within the DA and even across. And she now goes back and she says she's going to be quiet. I just don't think it's going to work. And I also think that Mmusi Maimane, his leadership, it has entered a new stage. It's the beginning of the end for Mr. Maimane's leadership here. Actually, by electing Zille, for me, they rejected Maimane. And he has got to justify why he needs to hold on. Hence, he's resorting to this idea of calling an early conference, just so that elective conference, just so that he can reinstate his mandate, because he knows the election of Zille shatters his own mandate within the DA. He has got to reinstate his mandate.
Where does this leave Mmusi Maimane, and is there space there for him? Because we saw the performance of the DA in these previous elections and as it stands right now. And the party is not doing well at all. The internal fighting, the differences of opinions, the talk of factions, the fact that the party financially is not doing well. And I think a lot of people talking to that also, of bringing Zille back in to please the investors. I mean, that's just a lot of sentiments that people are talking to. So let's talk. Where is the party under Mmusi Maimane? Is it growing? Is it anywhere?
Well, the party has been stagnant now, and I wouldn't say they have lost significant support in this election. They have been stagnant. And I think we understand why they are where they are. You are a party that has been formed focusing on a distinct constituents, traditionally white constituents within the DA. And there is an opportunity to actually build a multiracial constituency. That is what they are dealing with now. And I think that they have actually read the political wind very wrongly. Some of them have misinterpreted the growth of Freedom Front Plus as an indication of the weakness within the DA. Now you have the DA that seems to be competing at that. So for me, where is the DA? Unfortunately, people, those who elected Zille, will enjoy a sense of stability, but stability is not growth. The reality is that the leadership of the DA now, bringing back Zille in a moment such as this, in the type of politics that she has characterized herself with recently, it doesn't inspire a sense of growth. They are not going to grow, and now they've got this crisis to handle. Yeah. One of the things that worries me a lot, it seems to be a shift in the opposition style that the DA want to embrace. It's not the same DA that I used to see, where they were more amicable towards the ANC. They pushed for a consensus with the ANC, and actually they stayed around the table even when they were an opposition party. The type of a DA that I see now, and my fear is that the type of a DA that is going to be inaugurated with this Zille's survival, Zille's ascension, it is the DA that seems to be more willing to walk away from the table, but not really forge a consensus. And South Africa needs a consensus now. If you have the main opposition party becoming as radicalized as I see the DA is becoming, that then, for me, it just says a lot about South African politics. It says South African politics is generally becoming radicalized.
So if we look at, you speak to the Freedom Front Plus, and you speak to the fact that the DA are not necessarily growing or losing votes, they are stagnant. But I mean, if you look at some of the numbers, they lost in an estimate of about 150,000 votes to the Freedom Front Plus. They dropped probably about 20% of their voters since the 2019 election. So, you know, this is very telling. So if we look at where they're coming from, are they not trying to win back those voters that they lost to the Freedom Front by coming through and saying, well, we are going to stand for the voices that we lost, i.e. those whites that we've lost as voters now? Is that not where they're saying, that'll be our constituency and we're going to go for them?
There need to be a balance here. The loss that they've incurred, the loss that they've experienced in the previous election, for me, it's not so significant. If you're a party that is built on a particular tradition, you try to change to reach to new constituencies. Logic dictates that during the time of transition, when you are trying to craft new messages for your new constituencies, when you are trying to position yourself as a party that can be widely appreciated, you are bound to experience some level of stagnation. It's because some of your constituencies are unsettled. I want to believe that now the traditional constituents of the DA had been unsettled. That's what we have seen in the election previously. But that does not mean that to assure them, you then reject any attempt to reach out to the new ones. Absolutely. What you are going to do is to be a very stable minority opposition party. Is that what the DA wants?
Yeah.
I thought that if you're sitting at 22%. You've got to make sure that you make a leap to becoming a governing party. That requires that you embrace newness. You don't reverse back. And for me, what they've decided upon, I will be surprised if they grow in the next elections.
Yeah, and it is a big step backwards. Two more issues. The Institute of Race Relations. Now, we saw that was where Helen Zille had moved in that direction, and now then she said, no, not anymore, I am going to go back to the DA, and hence, I mean, she's back in this position now. One of the members of the Institute of Race Relations, Herman Pretorius, penned an article calling for Maimane to step aside and Western Cape Premier Alan Winde to take charge. And, you know, this also caused a bit of a stir, and Mmusi called them a right-wing institution. So what's going on here?
Well, you know, I've got great respect for the Institute of Race Relations as an NGO. I've interacted with the people there, but I do think in relation to this, they've taken an active lobbyist position on this. I mean, they have had a very clear position on Mmusi Maimane that Mmusi need to go. And one of the things that will unsettle Mmusi now is that now Zille has ascended, and it seems as if she was coming, the IRR, the Institute of Race Relations, they had that thing in mind about Zille's return, because she returned immediately after a detour to the Institute of Race Relations, which is why people will logically conclude that in line with the thinking of the Institute of Race Relations, Mr. Maimane has to go. That is why he has taken this position against the Institute of Race Relations. They've been very aggressive, and that is why Maimane will label them as such. But we also have to be fair. Probably the DA has been taking advice all along. Probably it's just that the advice that they are giving now is the one that dictates that Mr. Maimane should go. I don't think it would have been the first time that the Institute of Race Relations has given advice to the DA. Probably they've done it before. They've had a relationship with the organization. Before, some individuals have moved from the DA to the Institute as well. So to say they're a right-wing, probably I would say that Mr. Maimane is upset with it now. But certainly I understand his frustration.
All right. Herman Machado, the mayor. And this, I think, will be a big blow to the party if he does step down. Because, I mean, you look at the fact that he is working tirelessly in Johannesburg. He really is. The EFF that they are in a coalition with, if we can call it that, are very happy with the performance of him. And I don't know, maybe, they're going to shout at me for that, but they seem to be quite happy with Herman Machado and his ways and views. If he goes, what is going to happen? And insiders basically saying that that is exactly what's going to happen at this press conference today.
I mean, I would imagine the senior leaders of the DA would have tried to persuade him not to leave. But, you know, Mr. Machado doesn't mince his word. I mean, he's always...
Not at all. Calls it like it is.
If South Africa has a political drama queen, I would label Mr. Machado that. And whether you disagree with him whatsoever, he has done a great deal of work in Johannesburg. He has given the DA a lease of life. And I think that he has helped them to realize that they can actually maybe even grow in Gauteng. So if he goes, the coalition is going to collapse, because it seems he has got a better relationship with other parties than the DA has. Institutionally, the DA is very absent in this coalition. So Machado leaving, it will mean the collapse of the coalition. It will be a step. It will be a step back for the DA. I mean, not that those coalitions were based on decisive principles, but where they are now, I think they will just have to soldier through and try to save them. And I hope someone tries to talk to Mr. Machado to stay.
Yeah, because, I mean, he is, as you say, I mean, he's non-apologetic and doing what he has promised to do for the city of Johannesburg. Who do you think would be a good leader in the DA? Who is the right person for that job?
It's a difficult position, because now they're thinking a lot along racial lines. They're thinking about what does it mean to have a black leader? What does it mean to have a white leader? I really sincerely think they need to be looking in the direction of women within the DA. I mean, there are incredible young women within the DA across the racial lines. There are young black women within the DA whom I think they should be thinking about. They've got prominent names like the likes of Phumzile Van Damme that are there within the DA. And I think they need to be looking at people who can genuinely confront the current challenges, not people who are coming from the past generations that I think they will try to reinvent the past. They need to genuinely deal with the problem of growth, and they need to be looking in the direction of younger people to help them.
Herman Machado, could he not take over as a leader, or not? You don't see him in that
Perhaps
position?
if he resigns, you never know with
You never
Mashaba.
know.
He's
Exactly.
the most
resign.
unpredictable politician, if you like. Maybe Mashaba will be trying to instigate a mutiny to strengthen Maimane's leadership. Maybe he will put a condition that the only reason that I will not leave is if Mr. Maimane is left alone.
Yeah.
Probably he's in a position, Mashaba, to actually negotiate with the DA at that level.
Yeah.
For some reason, he just found himself in a position where he can actually pressure the party. And I think he's starting right with this press conference.
So that could be, I mean, this may twist into that direction as well. Yeah. However, as we end off this interview, is Maimane the right man for the job? Do you think he is strong enough to lead the DA? History's telling us.
I don't think so.
Really.
I don't think so. I mean, look, poor performance in the election, that is substantive matter here. And indecisiveness, even his own, the review panel he commissioned is saying he's indecisive and so forth. But I also have to say that the DA, amidst all of these weaknesses that one can point, they failed him. The top leadership of the DA enjoyed contesting him in the public space. They have actually made him a very weak leader to a point where he's even seeking to just reconfirm his mandate in the middle of his term. The reason why he wants to push for this thing to go to an early elective conference is to say that maybe when he comes out he will be much more decisive. But the DA failed him, and I think they need to look among their ranks. They will find somebody else. There are plenty of people within this organization, I think.
Ralph Mathekga, always a pleasure speaking to you. Thanks so much for coming in and chatting to us about what happened within the ranks of the DA over the weekend and what we can expect today, because today sure is going to be quite an event with the mayor of Johannesburg holding that press conference. All right, that was Ralph Mathekga, political analyst. Let's take a quick break. We'll have your news at 7. Do stay tuned.